Greetings, team. As promised, I'm making another video here. This one, we'll see how far we get along. In it, I was going to do a video here on kind of the starting point is, kind of one of the main grand campaign starting points. So we're at the fall of 1776, as you can kind of see here. And so this is one of the main starting points. The earliest war starting point is the summer of 75. So this one's kind of like, past the 1775 year. I do like the 75 campaign as well. That's a good one. It's a little bit of a struggle for the British because they don't have all their the reinforcements right away. And so this one kind of, skips past like the Siege of Boston and the American invasion of Canada. And then, it's fall of 1776. So the Battle of New York has already happened. And so like most of the forces you can kind of see are right here. You can't really see because it's like straight down at it, but it's like there's a massive amount of troops here on New York. And then the American forces are outside of New York. We got Washington's force here, and then Lee, he's got about 4 brigades on West Point. And so that's kind of like the initial starting point of this campaign. So I am playing both sides. So I'll just try to, communicate what I've got going on. Just for a little bit of context, I'm going to have the British cards will be up on this side. So first the British draw a card. They get the Surgeon General. American cards I'll put on the other, kind of down here. So the Americans got a take cover card. Normally you'd play like the Americans on the the land side and the British are on the kind of seaborne side. And then you're playing, because it's such a long board, so one player on one side and then the other player on the other side. But since I'm playing both sides, just figured I'd kind of communicate that a little bit here. And then, I'll just do my best to try and communicate what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. Because otherwise it's like, well, why did he do that? Because this is, it's a playthrough. What you're watching this to figure out, like, what's going on. Is this a game you might want to play? How do you play the game? How do you, win at the game? And there's already some videos out there that kind of went over a lot of the components and the basics of how to play. A big thing is, the main thing we're looking for here is like victory points. And you can kind of see, at the beginning of the game here, the British have 25 victory points. The Americans have 35. So the Americans start out with more victory points, but, the British start out with a massive amount more troops. And the British troops are much, much, much more, capable and effective. It's the fall of 1776 right now. And so there's going to be some differing strategies in terms of what each side might want to do. So for the British player, I would probably want to focus on, hitting Washington. I could try to go straight for West Point, but then the entire American army can kind of come together. And so I want to kind of hit Washington, push him around a little bit, see if he goes north or south. If he retreats towards the south, I kind of have this divide and conquer. I can then focus on, trying to capture the Hudson Valley, and that'll help keep the American forces separate between, the side that's on the middle colonies and south, and then the part that's going to be in New York and New England. And then once I have that, it's kind of like Burgoyne's plan. I can, have the troops that are up in Canada here, they can kind of come on down and reinforce Albany, and then we can kind of sweep towards New England, or then kind of push down into the middle colonies. And so my goal is to, engage often, vigorously and often as possible, because we have, at least 6 turns where we're going to have, significant advantage in terms of capabilities, not only manpower, in terms of the mass, how many troops we have versus how many troops they have, but also in the capabilities. Most American infantry units, are pretty weak But in 1778, they start, some of them, not all of them, but a good amount of them can get upgraded then, to kind of represent the evolution of training with Valley Forge and stuff like that. And um, so right off the bat, the British are going to want to try and hit the ground hard and, attack and force the Americans to basically either engage or retreat. And if they engage, the British are going to want to keep them in battle as long as they can to try and, really churn out as many units so that they're nice and weak. So that by the time the Americans are a little bit more capable, they're not going to have the manpower to put up much of resistance. The American strategy, on the other hand, is going to be to, at least offer some resistance to the British. They're not going to be able to, stand toe-to-toe with the British for, very long in battles. So, they're not going to try to fight them in battles like that. And so, the British are all up here in New York. And so what the Americans might do is try to expand some of their control in the South here. And so then, what they might want to do is move some of their troops from, they got some troops in, Virginia here. They can kind of spread out a little bit and start, accumulating some more political control down in the South where there's no British armies. And then in the North, just kind of let the British bump into them and retreat. And so then you're not spending as much of your action potential maneuvering around the British. You're just basically, giving way, but you're not letting them just walk through. And so then they're exerting more movement potential, bumping into you and attacking you and pushing you out of the way, where you're, allocating your movement potential where there's no resistance and you're able to just kind of jump on cities and, start taking some political control and offsetting the potential gains that the British might have in the North. And that's kind of the main objectives here. And so, the British, we're going to try to push on Washington. We're going to leave a sizable enough garrison in New York City to hold that as your base, and then maybe have a second field army that's going to potentially move on and take West Point. And so, if we can, kind of create a nice little defensive ring around New York, that'll allow us to easily bounce troops and concentrate when necessary and, swell out from there. And it'll also prevent the Americans from being able to concentrate their forces against any one particular target. And so that's what we've got going on. Now, I've already drawn the cards for the turn. And then in the initiative bag, I've already got the action cubes. Just as a reminder, until the Americans have French support, they only get 3 action cubes per turn. The British get 4. So the British have more actions, they have more troops, they have better troops. And so that's another reason why the Americans are going to try to be a little bit more passive in terms of their, what they're doing up north, just because they get less actions too. So they have to really maximize the effect of the actions that they're actually using. So, all right, first cube coming out, red, British. All right, so I am the British. I'm going to attack Washington directly. Now, I could potentially try to move to this little hex here south of New York City, and Washington could intercept. He could, kind of just move around potentially, but I also don't want to just give him the option to not fight. So I'm just going to attack direct. Even though he's going to have his militia, he's going to get a river crossing bonus and a hills. I want to fight. I'm here to fight. And so first I got to decide who's staying in New York City and who's coming with me. And so then I'm going to divide up my army. And then, in case you haven't seen it yet, it's gigantic. It's almost 20 units. It's huge. It's a massive, massive army. All right, so I'm going to take Howe with me. I'll leave Clinton and Cornwallis in New York City. And who's staying in New York City? I need enough for a secondary army. All right. Okay, something like this, I think. All right. So in New York City, I'm going to leave 5 infantry brigades, 3 Hessian infantry brigades, and an artillery battalion, or whatever they're called. along with Clinton and Cornwallis. That way it's sizable enough to deploy a secondary field army. And then the balance is basically launching their attack, which includes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 infantry brigades, one of which is the elite guard unit. They've got 4 Hessian infantry brigades, a dragoon brigade, and then a brigade of Jaegers, as well as did I already say 2 artillery units? Yes. So 2 artillery units. All right. Oops. All right, so we got 2 artillery units and all that. It's got a big army. Certainly big enough to take on the Americans. Whoop. All right, so the Americans are being attacked. British. So the Americans have to decide, do they want to fight in a battle or do they want to just skirmish and retreat? If they skirmish and retreat, it's going to be just a simple die roll modified by certain factors like the presence of light troops, militia support, and stuff like that. So looking at the conditions here, the Americans have 2, support in the middle colony, so they'd have +2, and they don't have any light troops in the stack. They just have 4 infantry brigades and an artillery brigade. So you'd have a +2 modifier, and the British do have a light troops, so they'd get a +2 modifier. So it'd be even Steven. So likely no effect. So right now, the Americans would get 2 defensive bonuses, one for the hills and one for the river, and I think they're gonna try for it. So we mark we're having our little battle here. Boom. Then units get transferred to the battle boxes. Yeah, you should be able to see both of them now. All right. Now the defender sets up first. And they get 2 militia units. We're getting a river defensive bonus, as well as a hill. All right, so we got Washington. He's the commander. He just sits in the back. I'll put the artillery right there. And then what do we want to do here? I think I'll go. Yes. Yeah, something. Maybe something like this, maybe. Yeah. All right. So the Americans have set their battle up. They've got a New England infantry unit on the left. It is it has a 2 firepower. So, a lot of their units are weaker, but these ones are pretty solid too. And they got a Virginia brigade at the top of their center battle, which has a 2nd Virginia brigade that's only 1 firepower below it, and then a militia brigade on the bottom. And then on the right wing, they have a middle colony brigade and then a militia brigade under that. And then their artillery support is on the right, so supporting the center and right wings of the battles. And then the British, they're gonna put Howe in command of their right, which mirrors the thinnest part of the American line. Thinnest part of the American line. So then, if they're able to break through, they get flanking bonuses. Nipphausen will be in the middle there. They'll put the dragoon in the back as a reserve. And then we got all of our Hessians, which will, be in the same row column as the Nipphausen to get that bonus. And then, let's see, artillery goes in the back. And then we'll do probably, something like this. So 2 brigades of infantry on that side, 2 brigades of infantry on this side. I put the guard, the elite guard unit, underneath this one here. All right, so I think so I got 2 infantry, and then Basically, all the Hessian units are in the center. All right, and then, unless there's some card play, the defender gets to go first. So the Americans get 4 battle commands, and you know this from the little kind of column here. So if you have a 4-rank general, which Washington is a 4-rank, and you're using all 3 of your columns, 1, 2, 3, you get 4 battle commands. All right, so here's what we're gonna try and do. First, you're gonna fire some artillery. I think I'm gonna try to weaken their wing there. Yeah, much as I should just go straight at them, but I'd like to kill some of those British guys. I think that'd be better. So I'm gonna target the British left with artillery. So, American artillery, I don't know if you're familiar with or not, but it only has 2 cohesion. So I'm only gonna get to roll 2 dice. Whoop. And I got 1 hit, because they score hits on 1s and 2s. So then this guy rotates down by 1. American battle commands go down by 1. All right. 3 more battle commands. I think, I think we should go center to your left. So my infantry in the center, which has a base firepower of 2, plus 2 for the hills. So I'm rolling 4 dice, scoring hits on 1 through 4, and you're rolling 3 dice because you only have 3 cohesion left, and you're scoring hits on 1s and 2s. So should hopefully work out nicely. All right, so we got just one hit. Oh, that is annoying. So only 1 hit, but the British didn't score any hits in response, so at least there's that. And then I am going to go straight at you. My right to your left. So that's 4 dice, scoring hits on 1, 2s, and 3s. It's a base firepower of 1, plus 2 for the river crossing. And then they have 4 cohesion. And then you're down to 2 dice, scoring hits on 1s and 2s. So you got 1 hit, and then I got 1 hit. All right. Dang it. That annoys me. I wanted to kill you, and I'm not killing you, so it annoys me. All right. And that's all I will do. So then it turns to the British. And the British, they're gonna fire some artillery. They're like, let's just center mass this situation and churn through some American units. So they're gonna go. Their left artillery is gonna fire on the center. 1 hit. They do want to also weaken this wing here if they can. So their right artillery is going to focus on the right or the American left here. Sorry. No, they did get a hit. I rolled and 1 was Kitty Wampus, so they did actually get a hit. Sorry, that was off screen. All right, so that was 2 actions. Now they got 2 more actions. So they're going to center attack the American left. So British are rolling 3 dice, scoring hits on 1, 2s, and 3s. 2 is the base firepower for the Hessian units, and then they get +1 for Nipphausen. And then the Americans are rolling 3 dice, scoring hits on 1s and 2s. All right, so what do we got here? We got 1 hit for the Americans, and then 1 hit for the British. Boom. Boom. The British, you know what? They're going to play their card right away already. Oh my goodness. Their card is Surgeon General. Adds 2 strength points. So they can basically recover 1, 2. And then their final action is going to be to have their right attack the American left. And this is 4 dice to 2 dice, and everybody's 2 or less. No bonuses. So the Americans got 2 hits. The British got 2 hits. Oh, this guy's dead. And this guy's boom, boom, down 2. So then it goes to the second round, back to the Americans. And now that the Americans are only using 2 lanes of combat, they're only going to get 2 battle actions, unfortunately. So, with that, I guess they will, shucks. Guess they're gonna go artillery, fire on the British infantry on the left, or their left. No hits. And then I guess they'll go their center to the British left. So 3 dice, 3 dice. The Americans are scoring hits on 1, 2, 3, and 4. So they got 2 hits to 1 hit. And then it's back to the British, who still get 4 battle commands. And, well, they are going to, you know what? They're gonna be ruthless. They're gonna have a dragoon charge going through their left and hit the center. They're rolling 3 dice and scoring hits on 1s, 2s, and 3s. They got 1 hit. The Americans do get to fire back. And they got 1 hit. 1 hit. 1 hit. Boom. All right, they're going to fire their artillery. Their left artillery hit the center. No hit. Their right artillery hitting center. No hit. Jeez Louise. And then, shucks. Guess they're going to go hot with Howe's unit. So 1 hit to 1 hit. All right, so the Americans don't really have much to do here. They're just going to retreat. So it is the 3rd round. They're able to retreat. Wasn't a good battle. It was a bad battle. They lost 2 units. Those go back in the bag. As you add units into the bag, you increase that by 2. Because we got 2 units going in, 1 for each one. That was frustrating. I should have just did a skirmish and retreat. Damn it. Alright, and so then the Americans are gonna retreat from the battle. So the battle was right here. And so then I guess we'll retreat over to here. That was unfortunate. I was hoping to get at least 1 or 2 kills or something. The British played a dumb card. They're such bullies. Alright, and then the British, they get to own that hex. And then they're going to continue moving and occupy Morristown. Because that's what bullies do. They're in Morristown. Bam. And that was that action. So, yeah, some actions, that was just 1 action cube. Some action cubes, doesn't take a lot. And so, since the British have captured a city, their victory points go up by 1, whoop, and the Americans go down by 1. All right. Americans. Oh, and then we, of course, put little yellow cubes on top of these guys to indicate that they're, they've already moved. So Washington, he retreated from a battle, so, he also gets that. So the Americans get an action cube. All right. So I guess what I'm going to do, I'm going to activate these guys down here. I'll leave 1 brigade in Richmond, and I'll go here, drop that guy off, and then here. Boom, boom. And so then I have gained 2 victory points. Boop, boop. British again. What are we going to do here, boys? What are we going to do? The British. All right. Well, I mean, Clinton, Washington's not that strong. Feel like I should attack Lee. So I think I'm going to take Cornwallis. And so I'll leave 4 brigades in New York City. All right, so I'll take Cornwallis. He's going to march. He's going to attack Lee in West Point. Lee, does he want to fight? I don't have any artillery. Yeah, that's a tough one. You know what? I'm gonna fight. Let's do it. Let's have a battle. Okay, so we're having a battle right there. All right, and in this case, we both get a militia unit because New York has 1 support for each of us, so we both get 1 militia unit. Americans are defending. Got Lee as the battle's commander. I think I'll do something like this, maybe. All right, then Cornwallis. You're gonna. Something like that. All right. So, round 1 of the battle. Whoop. Lee gets 2 battle commands because he's only got a 2-star rank. So, I think I should just go straight at you. Center to center. I get plus, you know what? No, I'm going to go center to the British right, which is just 1 militia unit defending it. So if I can wipe that out, that'll be pretty sweet. So I get 4 dice. The British get 2 dice. And I'm scoring hits on 1s, 2s, and 3s. All right. Got 2 hits. And the British didn't score any hits because militia have to score 1 for that. And then, because I'm now flanking, this guy gets a flank bonus because he's kind of wrapping around. And so then... I'll have this guy attack the British center. So now it's even Steven because this guy's 1 firepower, plus 1 is 2. And then the British have a base firepower of 2. So we got 1 hit to 2 hits from the British. That's annoying. Boop, boop. Then you just got 1 hit. All right. Oops, still round 1. Now the British, they do just get 2 battle actions because they're only employed in 2 lanes of combat. So they're just going to focus on the American center. So they're going to fire artillery. They got 1 hit. Boom. And then they're going to use their left to attack the American center. So... British roll 4 dice, the Americans roll 3 dice. British are scoring hits on 1s and 2s because that's their base firepower and there's no bonuses. And the Americans are scoring hits on 1s, 2s, and 3s because the base firepower is 1 plus 2 for the hills. So we got 2 hits for the Americans, no hits for the British. Boom, boom. Oh, she liked that, huh? All right, then it's back to the Americans. who feel good about the situation so far. And so they're going to go center to the British left. They're rolling 3 dice to the British 2 dice. Again, 1, 2s, and 3s for the Americans. So they got 2 hits, and the British got no hits. So, boom, this guy got wiped out. Ugh. And then the Americans have 1 more action. Ooh, you know, they're gonna go this to the center. So they're gonna fight with they got a decent New York infantry brigade here. So they get 4 cohesion. So rolling 4 dice against the British, rolling 3 dice. No bonuses, so 2s or less all around. We got 2 hits to no hits. Oh my goodness. That's super annoying. Alright, then the British get to go. Well, the British don't want to take a loss here, so they get 2 actions. They're gonna fire artillery at the guy in the center. 1 hit. And then they're gonna go their left to the center. So 3 dice to 2 dice. Americans got 2 hits to the British 1 hit. All right, and then it's back to the Americans. Ooh, haha. Shanga longa donga. You know what? I'm gonna go my right, just down the line. So American right to the British left. So British roll 1 dice, Americans roll 2 dice. Got him. So this guy's been killed. Boom. And then no hits for the British. And that's all I'm gonna do. Why? Because I feel the British are gonna probably retreat. And since I don't have enough to, score another kill right now, just let the British retreat. And then, so basically what we got here is if I was able to kill another British red unit, either this infantry or this artillery, and win the battle, that'd be considered a major victory. And then that would open up the ability to get French support before 1779, which would be huge. So, I would love that, but I can't really kill this guy in this round. And so then the British are going to get another round, and they're going to be able to retreat. They did lose 2 units. One of them was a Hessian and one of them was a British unit. So, it's not good for the British, but they aren't triggering French support. And so then, so the British are going to retreat. They are going to... Where's the British stuff? Oh, they're down there. Okay. So they're going to get 2 resource points because they're adding 2 units back to the bag. Boom. And then they retreat. So these units, boom, boom, retreat back to New York City in shame. They get a little yellow thing on them. Oh, sorry, you didn't even see that. So they retreated back to New York City, put a little yellow marker on them. The American forces, they go back to where they were. It was a good battle for the Americans because they killed 2 British units and didn't lose any, so it kind of offset the first battle in which the Americans lost 2 units and the British didn't lose any. And because the Americans have won a battle, they get 1 political action to use in the close proximity. And so they're going to use that to basically take this off of Genesee. And that just reduces British control there. And I'm going to pause the game and we'll continue in a bit. All right, team. Is it recording? Yes. Sorry. All right. So I paused the video for a minute. Had to go do some stuff. Continuing on. Here we go. Red. All right. So the British have 2 more actions, including this one. They were hoping to have captured West Point. They're a little frustrated that the Americans put up resistance, but when you become greedy little pigs, and you don't bring enough firepower to the fight, things happen. So, I think what the British are going to do, they're going to position Burgoyne for the following year. So they're going to take Burgoyne, and they're going to go 1 and 2. And I think they're just going to leave them there like that. Just, be there, All right, so the Americans are next. What do they want to do? Let's see. Americans, what do you want to do, guys? Let's see here. Well, I feel like I should do something down here. Yeah. I guess I'm going to take 1 unit. Probably didn't explain it, but so normally when you activate an army, you get the general's kind of the yellow square. So like this is green, he gets 3 movement points. But you can also activate units that don't have a general, and you get 2 movement points. So I'm going to activate this brigade here. I'll leave a brigade in Charleston because I don't want the British just jumping on it. And he'll go 1, jumping to Utah Springs, and then 2, jumping to Camden. So we were able to get that. And that increases the Americans' victory points by that. Booyah! And I'll put a thing on them. Oh, I forgot to put a thing on Burgoyne. All right, 2 more actions for the round. This one's American again. What are we looking at here, team? What are we looking at? I'm gonna move this guy to Lancaster. Just gonna increase my victory points by 1. Allow me to have control, and then the final battle action is British. What do the British want to do? And since they know they are the final guy, Clinton. No, I'll leave Clinton in here, but a unit of infantry and a unit of Hessians will move and occupy Trenton. Okay. That seems good. So the British gained 1, the Americans lose 1. All right. So then the turn-end sequence. We can kind of see down here is we do a supply check and attrition. And a lot of this you can just kind of eyeball. Up here we've got, reasonable. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units. Another unit here. So up here we have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 with the port, with the harbor. So 6 units of supply. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units that can consume. So the guys up in Canada, they're fine. These guys for the British here, they can all tie their supply back to the Navy unit. The Navy unit in New York Harbor here, so they've got supply. The Americans here have plenty of supply to supply these forces here, and same thing here. Everybody else looks good. And then the generate goodwill. So after we take the yellow markers off of the units, now we have the generate goodwill. And what that means is that wherever there's British or American units or generals with, so you could have a British general with provincial units or an American general with French units, kind of thing. And you still get to generate the goodwill, but you have to have a British or American units or general in a particular city. And then you get generate one political action. So what we're looking at here is, looks like Morristown. We're going to remove this one American guy here. Same thing with Trenton. I'm going to remove that one guy there. But the Americans are going to generate one in Lancaster. All right, so the Americans have 3, 4, 5, 6. So they still have a majority control in the middle colonies. New York City, which was neutral, gains 1, which then increases the British control of New York as a colony to 2, level 2 of support. Down here, we've got the Americans gaining 1 there in Petersburg and then 1 in Wake. So then the Americans now actually have level 1 support in North Carolina. And down in the south, they generate 1 in Camden. And then they still have less than 6. So that was the turn. Hopefully, not all turns are that long. Some are longer, some are shorter. Alright, so then we advance the turn counter. It is winter, 76. They each get to draw a card. British get the withdraw card, which says you may retreat from battle for 1 battle command and or retreat before the 3rd round of battle, which could be good. The Americans get the counterattack card. That's a nice one. Allows you to, kind of double up some battle actions or get more battle actions and, kind of take the initiative. All right, and then we put these back in. And we'll see if we can get through the end of the year here, into the year-end phase, before we kind of wrap up that episode. British get to go first. That's the first action. And let's see, what do I want to do here? I think I want to build a fort. So I am going to spend my guy to just build a fort. So there's no, under construction. You just basically spend your action point. I'm going to put it on Morristown here. So let's put it under the whole stack. So now there's a fort in Morristown. British again. All right. Well, this time I'm going to take my army under Cow. I will leave, I'll leave 1 Hessian infantry unit. And I will leave 1 infantry brigade in Morristown to defend that fort. Everybody else is marching on West Point. Dun, 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 dun. So now I got this stack, and they're attacking West Point. Lee, he doesn't like his chances with this particular situation. So he is going to... He's going to skirmish and withdraw with half of his army. So he'll take the good New York infantry. And he's going to retreat to here. And so we have a skirmish. The British have +2 for their... They have a irregular unit. And they also have a dragoon. So they have one of the light troops. They get +2 on the skirmish. And then the British have +2 for, their public support within New York. And the Americans have just +1. So it's +4 versus +1. So it's a +3 in favor of the British. And with skirmishes, each side rolls 2 dice. If the result is 4 or more difference, then there's a kill. All right, so we got 10 to 9, and since the British do have +3, that's 13 to 9. So that does result in one of the American units getting murdered. Boom. Increasing the Americans' resource points by 1 as they put the brigade in the bag. Boom. So these guys have retreated. And now, technically, this force is now under siege. But the British don't want to be caught out in winter. You know, they'd suffer some attrition. So they're just going to assault the fort. We're going to have a fort battle. Boom. So mark where the battle is. And then the Americans, they get 1 militia unit. Look at this. I mean, this is gonna be a battle for sure. All right. All right. So in this battle, we've got the Americans are stacked up. Now fort battles, they're a little less dynamic. You know, we've got, because you're behind the walls of the fort. So we've got one side storming the fort, and so like over here, we've got the Americans. They get, they get to use their fort unit, which is an artillery unit. The artillery unit can occupy a front line, a line of combat. Otherwise, they're in the back, getting indirect fire. They still get their militia unit, and then they can have up to 2 units that have garrisoned the fort. And then they get this fort defensive bonus, which the fort defensive bonus is a big bonus. It, prevents, there's no flanking bonus for the enemy. It reduces their artillery. So you got to roll 1s when you're firing artillery on the fort, the people in the fort. And then it also prevents any sort of, you don't get any dragoon charges. So basically it's like, you just got to come at it. Not to mention it also gives the occupants +2 firepower. So, it's basically just this, kind of attritional situation. Now the British have 2 artillery units. So they're going to try to basically just attrit it down with artillery before sending in some infantry and stuff. But we'll see how it goes. So it starts with the Americans. And also with a fort, you may not be able to see it very well, but that's what this little symbol is. It's over here too. And so it kind of means that whenever you're defending a fort, you always get to have 2 actions. So you always get that extra action to fire your artillery and stuff. Okay, so that's what the Americans are going to do. They're going to fire artillery at the British center. They got 1 hit. Should be able to see that. Boom. And then the second is they're going to engage with their militia versus the British infantry in the center. So they didn't get any hits. Neither did the British. All right. And it's the British turn. They're going to fire their artillery. So first artillery fire. They got 1 hit. Boom. And now they're going to have their infantry under Kniphausen assault. They got 2 hits to no hits. They only can absorb 1 hit. You don't overkill and kill the unit underneath. So boom. And then artillery number 2. no hits. And then that's it. Yep. Right, back to the Americans. They're going to fire artillery at the center again. No hits. Blast. Now they're going to have their infantry in the center attack center. So the Americans get hits on 1s, 2s, and 3s. They got one hit. Back to the British. We're going to fire artillery. Artillery 1, 1 hit. Artillery number 2, 1 hit. And, yes, I guess they'll go, again, Kniphausen attack. 1 hit, no hits. And, that's all they'll do. Back to the Americans, who will be annoyed. All right, we're going to fire artillery. 1 hit at the center. Bam. They're going to go center to center. Both sides are just rolling 1 dice. British did get a hit. Ugh, that annoys the Americans big time. All right, the British firing artillery 1, 1 hit. Fire artillery number 2, no hit. They're going to have this militia unit attack. No, they're just going to move it to the back. So that costs an action. Because it's at full strength. So you can move units from reserve to a line of combat or from a line of combat to reserve as long as it's full strength. Once it actually has absorbed damage, then you can't. Otherwise, it's like really difficult to keep track of it. So it's like once they've actually started taking damage, you kind of got to keep. They're on the line. But if they haven't taken damage, they haven't really engaged yet, then you can pull them back. And that just got the guy out of the way. So then the final action, he's going to have this infantry attack. So we've got 4 cohesion for the British, 3 cohesion for the Americans. So here we got 1 hit for the British and then 1 hit for the Americans. Boom, boom. Oh man, all right. So now it's back to the Americans who are going to shots. They're going to have their center attack center. So we got 1 hit to 1 hit. That did kill this British guy. Boom. And then their second action, they're going to move their fort unit into the line of combat. The reason being that if this guy got taken out, this guy would be lost. Like you always have to have guys in the center. Otherwise, you're routed. All right, back to the British. They're going to have their center attack center. And that's their guard unit. So they get hits on 1s, 2s, and 3s. Surprisingly, they didn't get anything, but the Americans did get 1 hit back. Boom. They're going to have their Hessians in the right attack center. And then they got, boom. All right. And now they're going to have an artillery unit attack. Oh, 3 hits. All right. Bam. So that ends that. Battle concluded. All right. So the Americans have lost 2 infantry units. The fort unit doesn't generate any resource points when you return that to its stock, but the actual regular units do. So the Americans lost 2 units. The British only lost 1. So that was a good battle for the British. Reasonable exchange. So then the Americans have lost West Point. The British are able to move in. To West Point. Okay. So the Americans go down one, the British go up one. All right, that was not a bad move. Not a bad move. All right, the Americans. What do we want to do here? You know what? I'm gonna. I'm gonna have Washington across. He's gonna cross the icy Delaware. He's gonna attack the garrison at Trenton. And the British are. Shucks, what do they want to do? I think they're just gonna skirmish and retreat. So the Americans do get +2 because they have two level support in the colony. The British have no level of support currently. All right. So 5 to 8, but the Americans have +2, so it's a modified 7 to 8. So nobody dies. These guys retreat back to New York City. New York City. The Americans get 1 political action on Trenton for their victory. Reduces British victory points, increasing American victory points. And that was just 1 movement point for Washington. So he could, if he wanted, attack. But I don't know if the British would actually. They might fight. They'd get a hill defensive bonus there. They could just sit in their fort, though. And then wait for reinforcements. I guess what he's going to do is... So that was 1 movement point to here. He's going to go 2, jumping back to Philadelphia. He's going to leave a brigade there. 3, picking up the guy that was in Lancaster. And then 4, he's going to jump to Harris's Ferry, gaining yet another victory point. Take that, British. As you can kind of see, it's like building a sand castle. This stupid insurgency. It's very difficult for the British to make headways when they have to leave strong garrisons wherever they go, unless they're able to thoroughly weaken the enemy. All right, so the Americans get to go again now. What are they going to do here? I think the Americans are going to want to move this guy to here, getting 1 more victory point. That'll, increase their resources next end of the year here. So the British now, what do they want to do? British have 2 more. You know what? Cornwallis, he's going to go 1, 2, 3. Increasing the British, decreasing the Americans. Boom. Boom, boom. So the British here are thinking, because they'll have 1 more action, they can use it to seize Philadelphia before the year's out. All right, the Americans here. What do they want to do? Well, I think they're going to be looking down south here to gain some stuff. So they're going to take this guy and they're going to go 1, 2. And that's going to decrease the British, increase the Americans. The final, as we already knew, was the British. We're going to initiate action against for the Philadelphia garrison, who will not, seek battle. They will just skirmish and withdraw. The British do not have any light troops, so it is a +2 for the Americans. We still have to do the skirmish. Okay, so we have 9 to 10, and 10 plus 2 is 12. So 12 to 9, not 4 or less, so womp womp. That could have been good, but it's not. All right, and that is all the actions. Let me remove the yellow cubes. We'll do the year-end phase here, and that's probably going to be kind of chapter 1, which, yes, it's just 2 turns. Hopefully it moves a little faster in future turns. All right, so then we do our generate goodwill, so that removes 1 political action from West Point, though they generate 1 in Genesee here. British generate 1 in Morristown, and that does put them in support, level 1 support. They remove 1 here and here, and so that removes the British Americans' overwhelming political support. So the Americans do generate 1 in Harris's Ferry, so they have a total of 4. But it's not the majority. And then down in the south here, they can remove this guy. It still doesn't change the situation in South Carolina. And that's that. Now, for the year-end phase, the Americans roll 2 dice for the winter attrition that the Americans suffer. They got 11, which is a good big roll. Battles and stuff, you want low rolls, but in some of the attrition and other rolls, you want big rolls. So 11 for the winter attrition. That is 1. So they have to lose 1 unit of their choice. Ooh, and it's got to be in Virginia or north. I'll take this guy he was in Richmond. He's a pretty weak guy. All right, so I lost that unit. That does increase my resource points. So you can kind of see through the course of the year, the British have lost 3 units. The Americans have lost 6 units. So the British are doing what they need to do. But then again, the Americans have 39 victory points. That's just incredible. So the Americans are also doing what they need to be doing. How is that even possible? I should double check. So it's 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. I'm counting 36. I think something must have, maybe we didn't remove or add stuff. So 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33. So I'm counting 36, so that's a bit off. All right, and then the British have victory points. They have 5 for Canada, and then 6 for Fort Niagara, 7 for Oswego, 8 for West Point, plus 4 for New York City. It's 12, and then 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. So the British have 29. The British are definitely doing what they're supposed to be doing. they're doing good. They were able to get a good amount of kills, and then the spread between the British and the Americans was less than 10. It started at 25 to 35, and now it's 36 to 29. So the British have made pretty good progress here, and they're in a great position to strike out and cause a lot of freaking damage. All right, so then the resource allocation, the Americans with 36, they get 1 for every 3, so they get 12 resource points, 10, 11, 12, so that's 18. And then, with that, they will convert that into 6 new brigades for the following year. So we advance the turn to spring of 77. The Americans are going to get 6 brigades. Okay. I was hoping for some better stuff, but it's okay. All right. So I got a few New England brigades, 2 Virginia brigades. North Carolinian brigade. And then while I'm at it, I can put down some of my generals. I'll put Green down in the south. Put Lafayette here. Gates, I'll put you right here. How about that? Alright, and the British, we didn't cover it, but basically for winter attrition or winter quartering rules, you kind of have to end your turn in a city, which everybody was. And then there was still the same supply check. So, and then for the British resources, they roll 3 dice, so they got 7. And they already had 3 from, kind of the recovery. So they have a total of 10. That's 3 units and then 1 resource point in reserve. So 3 resource points, huh? All right, so to South Carolina. So they got 1 infantry brigade that they could put right in New York City. And then 2 of these guys down here, huh? Well. All right. I will draw a card for each of them. The British get recruiting poster. That's a nice one. Gives them a free little unit. And the Americans draw Long March. Neither side has 2 matching suits yet. And that will... And we're ready to start 1777. This is when things will get real interesting. And that's probably a good note for this episode. So tune in next time for what's going to happen next. All right.